All right, good morning. It's the Monday Morning Show. Today on the show, we have a very special guest. You may have seen him on America's Got Talent. He has a brand new book called Bad Dad, comedian Tom Cotter. Tom, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for coming on the show. I want to go back in time with you and ask you about when you first started doing stand-up comedy. Where did you start out?
My first show was at my college, my senior year of college. There was a Muscular Dystrophy Association telethon and dance-a-thon, and one of the other things was a talent show. And I decided to go up and make fun of the faculty and the fraternities and the administration and everything else, and I did it in kind of a stand-up form. And I got disqualified from the competition because I used some racy language and stuff, but the high fives I got all over campus for the next week let me know that was something I wanted to pursue after that. So then I started in Rhode Island for a short time, but Rhode Island is not known as a comedy mecca, so you either move an hour north to Boston or 3 hours south to New York. So I first went north to Boston for 8 years, and then after that I moved to New York.
So did you start doing like open mics, that sort of thing?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, open mic nights, which I think are kind of going the way of the dinosaur. There aren't that many open mics anymore. Now they have these thing called bringer shows where you have to bring 10 paying customers, and that probably would have been a deal breaker for me. I wouldn't want to harass my friends and family to come see me.
Yeah.
But when I was starting, open mics still were alive and well, and you would sign up generally in the afternoon, and then they'd tell you if you got a spot that night, and then you'd go up and peddle your comedy wares.
So were you always considered to be a funny person, or was it something you had to work on?
I think, some would argue that I'm not even funny now, so I don't know about back then. But no, I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and so I would lash out to get attention. I'd do anything to get attention when I was a kid. And so now the same things that got me sent to the principal's office as a child now pay my bills, and that's kind of the way it's always been.
Yeah, okay. How did you develop your style of comedy?
It's kind of a Boston style. As I said, I kind of started in Boston. That was really where I cut my teeth in this business. And in Boston, you really have to learn how to kill. I mean, you have to crush right from the get-go because everybody is so funny up there. And they all have this attitude and this thick Boston accent. And so you learn pretty early on that you have to cram a lot of punchlines into a short amount of time. So when I would do an open mic night and they would say you have 7 minutes or 10 minutes, I would cram a lot of jokes in there, and I would cut out as much of the fat as possible, and that's kind of what I'm known for now, and that's why I had some success on America's Got Talent, because they only give you 90 seconds, and there aren't a lot of comedians out there that can cram as many one-liners into a 90-second set as I could. And in some venues that's good. It worked for me on America's Got Talent, but other people like storytellers. Bill Cosby's a storyteller. My wife's a comic. She's a storyteller. And it takes them 5 minutes just to say hello to the audience because that's kind of the pace they go at. But mine is a more rapid-fire, frenetic pace, and it was born out of Boston.
So when you were starting out, did you ever do really bad? Did you ever have problems with the crowd?
I feel bad lying to you, so I won't lie to you, and I will say that I have died horrible deaths. I've been at this for 25 years, so I have done some horrible gigs. I literally did a gig for St. Jude's Children's Hospital where it was a benefit, and they showed a slideshow of all these poor kids who were suffering with cancer treatment, going through chemo and radiation, which, no hair on their heads. And then there wasn't a dry eye in the house. I mean, everybody was crying their eyes out. And then the MC went up and said, well, after that, I think we could use a laugh. Here's Tom Cotter. And there's no way to dig out of that hole.
Yeah.
So I've had that experience. I've had many, many bad experiences. But I think I'm always prepared. It's just sometimes the situation is poor. It's either bad lighting, bad sound, just a bad audience, whatever it is. That doesn't make you, sometimes you have to scratch and claw just to get through a set. But when it's all done correctly, when the lighting is good, the sound is good, you're not talking through a Burger King drive-through speaker, you have good sound, and the stage is decent and the audience is seated and they're not eating. No one laughs when they have a mouthful of prime rib, so I won't go up if they're eating dinner.
Yeah.
When the deck is stacked in your favor, and if you can't hit it out of the park, then you're in the wrong line of business.
Yeah. So you mentioned America's Got Talent. What was it like being on that show?
It was phenomenal right up until I came in second to a dog act in front of 40 million viewers.
Yeah.
But right up until then, it was really good. That was the best experience of my career, bar none. I'd always dreamed of doing the Tonight Show, and that was great. And Jay was really nice to me. And there are other milestones in my career. I won the Boston Comedy Festival, which is great because I won that in the town that I started in the Las Vegas Comedy Festival, and I've had some wonderful things happen in my career, but America's Got Talent far outweighs all of those because it's a primetime network television show. It's the #1 rated show. It's up against reruns because it's on during the summer. So everybody was watching, and it just catapulted my career to kind of a level that it had never seen before. So I was very, very lucky to get on that show and have the run that I had on it.
Yeah, you mentioned 40 million people. Were you nervous at all when you did the show?
I wore Depend undergarments. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Yes, I was. I just turned 40 in 2005. I like to say, so I'm over 50, and I had acne. That's how much the stress got to me. I lost like 20 pounds being on that show. I had acne. I don't want to make your listeners uncomfortable, but I had digestive issues. It was very nerve-wracking. When I do a show, like let's say I just did a Toyota corporate gig down in Costa Rica this past week, I want to do well. They hired me to do well, so I want to do well, but they're all faceless people. I don't know these people. I don't even drive a Toyota, so I don't care that much about, if they like me or not. But on America's Got Talent, you had millions and millions and millions of people watching it from all over the world, not just America. And the fact that my father was in the crowd, and my brothers and sisters were in the crowd, and my wife was in the crowd, and my children were in the crowd, those are all things that just amp up the anxiety and the stress.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to drop the ball in front of people you care about.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for new comics?
I always tell people stage time and writing. Those are the two things. As much stage time as you can get, whether it's at a coffee house or, if there is an open mic night, go to that. Just get up in front of people and constantly be writing. I always used to carry around a notepad. Now I'm a little more tech savvy, so I can dictate right onto my iPhone. But don't trust your memory. Don't say, okay, that's funny, I'll remember it and write it down later. Write it down at that moment, even if you have to be rude and excuse yourself from a dinner table, because that little nugget will become a great comedy piece one day once you chisel it all out and cut out all the fat. So I tell people constantly be writing and constantly be getting up on stage, and that's how you get good.
Yep. Okay, now you have a brand new book out called Bad Dad. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's my first book. A lot of people didn't know I could read, let alone write. So it was a lot of fun and a labor of love. My wife is also a stand-up comic, and she and I, we really get most of our comedy these days from our 3 sons. We have 3 boys, and they are funnier than any comic that I've ever. We have the heartiest laughs over our children, and because they have no filter, they'll say whatever they want to say. And this harkens back to Art Linkletter and Bill Cosby when they used to do Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Yeah.
And that combined with my own experience with my own father made me feel like I was qualified to write this book. And it's certainly not to be taken seriously. So I wrote in the preface of it that if you're a born-again Christian or a devout Muslim, this probably isn't the book for you, because it does get a little racy and a little edgy at times, but it's solely for comedic value. It doesn't have any socially redeeming value other than to make you laugh, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay, before I let you go, we have a part of the show we like to do called Questions from the Fans, and we have some of our listeners send us some questions. And I'd like to pick a couple out here. We have an email from Blake Chapman, and Blake wants to know, who is the best person you have ever worked with, and who was the worst?
Wow. All right. Best person, because I want to remain married, I will say my wife. She and I get to do a comedy team thing every once in a while, and that's a lot of fun. Best person, I got to share the stage with George Carlin and Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers was really amazing because she kind of helped me out on America's Got Talent because they made us roast the judges, and it was very intimidating having to roast Howard Stern and Howie Mandel and Sharon Osbourne and Nick Cannon. Yeah. So I needed a veteran, a true pro to help me with that, and she came in like a white knight on a white horse and helped me through that, and was wonderful. So I will say, in retrospect, I will say it was Joan Rivers, best. Worst, God, I've worked with a lot of really bad people, but I just don't know if I can throw them all under the bus. Yeah. Some of them are bad because their material is bad. Some of them are bad just because their behavior is bad. They're a prima donna or whatever, and they're just miserable to work with. So I'll say there's too many to mention. Okay. On the worst side. How about that?
All right. Okay, we have one more email from Ramon. Ramon says, did you get into trouble when you were younger? If so, what was the funniest thing you did?
Oh, God. I got in trouble a lot. Again, I was a ham. You know, you have to act out when you're the youngest in the family. So, like when we would get pizza at my house, because I'm the youngest, you know, you're the lowest in the pecking order. So I would spit on a piece of pizza, and that way I would know that was my piece, and no one was going to take that piece of pizza, and that used to infuriate my mother. But I guaranteed that I was going to get nourishment that night. What did I do? At school, I was, you know, believe it or not, if you looked at me now, I'm 5'7" on a good day, but I was one of the bigger kids when I was in 6th and 7th grade, so I was kind of a little bit of a bully. I was kind of a jerk, to be honest with you. But I could give wedgies like the best guys. We used to do a thing called a sand wedge in my locker room. There was like a sand thing, and we would put sand in the younger kids' underwear and then give them a wedgie, and we called it a sand wedge. And it was a recipe for some kind of rash between the butt cheeks later on, and that was a mean thing, and I feel badly about it. A lot of Catholic guilt about that.
It's funny. Okay, well, that's all the questions I think we have. Where can people go to get a copy of your book?
It's on Amazon right now. I sell some after my shows, but it's on Amazon, and it's called Bad Dad, A Guide to Pitiful Parenting. And you can go to my website also and track it down also. My website is Tom Cotter Comic. Oh, well, that's actually my Twitter handle is Tom Cotter Comic. I'm also on Facebook, so just remember Twitface when you think of me. And my website is tomcotter.com. Couldn't be easier.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, and hopefully we can talk to you again sometime.
I look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks. Bye.